This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mousefan Travel. And tell me if you've been here before. You go away on a nice vacation only to come back to realize your friends had made fun of you the entire time. Why put up with it? Just go on another vacation. Have MEI and Mousefan Travel take care of all the work for you. Let them book your next trip so you can get away from your ingrate friends that made fun of you the entire time that you were there and realize that you really don't like them anymore. So your next trip can get away from it all and you'll have a fresh start when you get back. Give them a try. Visit them at www.mousefantravel.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, October 8th, 2008, and this is episode 472 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. On the show today with me is one of my vacation home sweet friends. That would be Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
I was going to go for a dip in the pool, but I'm afraid I can't because I don't have a pool here.
I know. It's depressing. You come home and no afternoon nap, no pool, no Donkey Kong.
You know, after the SWAT team was called in to get me out of the house, you know, it was tough. They made me vacate, or they threatened to tase me. I was like, don't tase me, bro.
Nice.
Did they really need to use those helicopters?
You know, I think they went a little overboard, but, you know, Sarah was really cool about it, and she called them off, and, you know, they went away. And I came out quietly.
Very good. Next, also on the show today with us is Mike Scope, a blogger over at allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Matt, you know that 4 centuries of work, bloodshed, loneliness, and fear created this land?
This would be the American Adventure.
That is correct, sir.
It's like I got a 25% chance of guessing that one, and I'll be right.
I know it's either that or Hall of Presidents.
Exactly. It's Wednesday. That means we're answering your listener questions, and we'll start out with a question from Kobe Cardin, who writes, Dear Matt, Mike, Len, and Annette, I am a discount hound when it comes to our trips. My wife and I are leaving for the world for Epcot Food and Wine Festival, October 8th through 11th. Ooh, just got this one in. I booked what I think is a good deal at the Port Orleans Riverside for $108 a night through a site called HotelWish.com. Then I felt a little creepy about it because I do not know about the site. Did I book something sketchy? How can I make sure that I really have a reservation? Do I need to be prepared to display Scopo-like crankiness when we drive 7 hours and there's no reservation on the Walt Disney World system? Well, I think with anything, obviously you have to check the website, make sure it looks legit. The other thing is, once you make a reservation, once it gets in the system, it's delivered to the resort. So you can call the resort about 5 days before your check-in. That's not very helpful to, if you're making a reservation a couple months in advance and you want to get a quicker answer than that. The other thing is, what she doesn't include here is any indication that the rates were more expensive elsewhere if she called elsewhere. Perhaps they have a group rate over there, the website, I went to the website. It looks kind of like a travel agent's website. I'm not exactly sure about that. But they could have had a group rate. They might have a special rate negotiated, a block rate, something along those lines. Scopa, do you have any other ideas?
The thing is, Matt, I would not wait till 5 days before. As soon as I would wait a couple of days after making this initial, effort to make a reservation and ask for some documentation, call the resort. I would do whatever I can just to have peace of mind that, in fact, I did make a reservation. So I would not wait too long. I would ask for some confirmation of my reservation.
Yeah, I mean the rate isn't outrageous. It's not like it's like $50 a night for a moderate resort.
What was it?
$108 a night
for
Port Orleans in October 8th through 11th. It's kind of a dead time of the year. It's in the realm of possibilities. Let's put it that way. It's not outrageous.
Well, yeah, I think it's possible. I've heard of someone who's going down this week who got a rate at All Stars for like in the 50s. So maybe it is a dead time.
Yeah. Could be. Let us know how it goes, and as Mike Newell says, good luck, bro. Next email is from Mark, who writes, We're signed up for the Saturday night Fantasmic dessert package through MEI. Hoorah! This will be our last night in the parks on this trip during MouseFest. We also have tickets to the Very Merry Christmas Party. We had already gotten our tickets before the MouseFest Christmas Party was announced, so we have tickets for December 7th instead of the 11th. Do you think we should change our tickets to the 11th? Or, if you folks aren't going to the party that night, Len, this especially includes you, maybe we could try to organize a drinking around the world type activity that night. I don't see that in the official schedule yet. Scopa?
Well, we are going the 11th, right?
Yeah, aren't you guys? You guys meaning?
signed up.
Yeah, Scopa and Newell, aren't you guys organizing something for Mouse Fest for that night?
It probably wasn't announced when he wrote this letter, so that's why it's a little late.
Okay.
But yeah,
but there is, yeah. I mean, it's up to you, Mark. I mean, in terms of changing it from the 7th to the 11th, obviously, if you are interested in meeting a lot, not only us but also many other Disney fans around the internet, I think it would definitely behoove you to switch dates if you can.
Yes.
I mean, it's what you're interested in. It sounds like you're interested in meeting up, and I think that's good enough reason for me, and I would definitely go for it.
Yep.
And we thank Mark also for buying his ticket to the Fantasmic Saturday night at the studios. But I'll put a link in the show notes if anyone else is interested in that. That'll be going on December 13th. And next email is from Katie and Ed, who writes, "Hi, Matt, Mike, and Len, and Annette, of course. My fiance and I have been catching up on your podcast and love it. On a trip from North Carolina, we live in Winston, to Detroit, we listened to you guys for a solid 10 hours, and then another 10 on the way back. We need emergency help for our trip to the world." Jesus, I'm surprised they listened that long. They'll be traveling December 12th to the 17th, and we'll actually be in the parks for the 13th to the 16th. We're driving, so 2 days are used up. We don't have park hoppers because we're saving for a wedding. With that said, we have an issue. We're planning our day at the studios on December 15th. We really want to see everything here since we haven't been here in a couple of years. Our main goals are Fantasmic and the Osborne Lights. I recently found out that in an old podcast of yours that said that the Osborne Lights turn on at 6 o'clock. Well, on the weekdays during that slow time in December, there is one showing of Fantasmic at 7 o'clock. With that being said, when the lights turn on, should we be waiting for the Fantasmic show? We don't even have time afterwards to look because we have an 8:15 ADR at GECO. What do you suggest? I would hate to switch all of our days up because of our ADRs made everything perfect with the various schedules. Just push GECO back till 9 o'clock? Not see Fantasmic? Not go to GECO? Just try to stand and watch Fantasmic after we see the lights? You know, it's an interesting problem, Katie. The good news is you're supposed to be able to see Fantasmic and the Osborne Lights in the same night. The bad news is Disney anticipates you seeing Fantasmic first and then seeing the lights, because ideally you'll go to Fantasmic first, and then right after you'll go see the lights. In fact, you're able to do this even if there's one show. We did it last year during after the Fantasmic dessert party we had at Mouse Fest last year. We all went right from there to the Osborne Lights. We had a solid 30 to 45 minutes of the lights on, which was nice, even though the park technically is closed. So the problem here is that you can't really see because the lights, as you correctly turn on at 6 o'clock. So you're going to have a big conundrum here. You can either see, the problem is you could try to see the lights, get 30 minutes of it in and then head over to Fantasmic and hope for some seating left over. But it's going to be tough, to tell you the truth. And you're going to have to make a decision, I think, in this case. You're going to either have to say, okay, I either want to see Osborne Lights, Fantasmic, or go to GECO at the time that I have. You can only do 2 of those out of those 3, it seems. And unless you change your ADRs, obviously. But Scopa, do you have any other ideas?
Matt, I want to reinforce your what you said about doing Fantasmic first,
yes,
and then going over to see the Osborne Lights, because I've done it both ways, and the problem with doing it the Osborne Lights first is that it's just a huge sea of humanity, and it's very hard to move anywhere from that just just tons of people there. So it's better to do Fantasmic first, because I noticed last year that when we did Fantasmic and then we went over to the Osborne Lights, we only got to see it for about maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, but there was like next to nobody there. We were able to walk down the streets. We were able to go wherever we wanted to go to see the lights up close. We were able to take photos. Whereas if you go there when the lights are turned on, you can't breathe. If you fainted, you wouldn't fall down. So I think that I would second your recommendation that Fantasmic comes first and then the Osborne Lights come second. And I would either push back GECO or just forget GECO. Yeah. You can go to GECO anytime, but you can't see the Osborne Lights any time of the year.
No, I'm in 100% agreement with you, Mike, regarding trying to do the lights first. It's just impossible. I mean, it would be possible. The only way it would be possible is theoretical if you had no one else there to compete with. Then you could possibly do it. But even then, it's a problem even to get a good seat for Fantasmic. So 100% agree with you. And I also agree with your second point that, you've got 3 things here, only one of which is available at a certain time of the year. The other 2 are available during most of the other year. I say most because Fantasmic's schedule is going to get really mucked up coming 2009, but at least it'll still be showing throughout the year. So keep that in mind also. Next email is from Kip Wade, who writes regarding Sanford Airport and Allegiant Air, who writes, Allegiant is a great airline. I fly from South Bend, Indiana to Orlando Sanford quite often. Compare car rental prices from Orlando to Sanford. The same car for my stay in 2 weeks from Sanford is only around $200, but from Orlando it's a whopping $330. Car rental prices from Dollar at Sanford are much more reasonable than from Orlando. Next, don't take I-4. 1 hour? Are you nuts? It'll take you 3 hours to cross Orlando in a busy time. Take Toll Road 417. It takes you straight across from the airport to the doorstep of Walt Disney World in around 45 minutes. Tolls, I think, run about $5 total from the airport to Walt Disney World. You'll save a lot of time flying in and out of Stanford. I can't say anything about Allegiant. I take his word for it, but he's right about taking 75 because it will definitely skip 4. If you're coming in to Orlando, whether it be Orlando or Sanford, anytime, I would say on a weekday in working hours, around a morning rush, you probably want to avoid Orlando, and you definitely should take 417. Your alternative also is take 429, which is also sometimes known as the Western Way over there. And that also, they both basically just go around Orlando, like to the right or to the left of it, east or west, I guess is the right words for that. And they'll bring you right to Walt Disney World at the conclusion of the highway. Next email's from Michelle Collinson Strang, who writes, I'm going to Walt Disney World in 8 days for my belated honeymoon and just started listening to your podcast. Someone actually told me yesterday that as my birthday gift yesterday, they were going to give me the best Disney tip, listen to you guys. Anyway, all I got to say is, wow, I love you guys and thanks for all the great tips. My husband, who does not listen to the shows at all, also enjoyed listening, and I think we're going to be fighting for the iPod the whole plane flight down. Thanks again and keep up the great work.
Nice. Thank you.
Michelle has a trivia question for Scopa. Here's a trivia question for you guys. Do you know who Ewerks, UB space IWERK, as I'm sure I didn't pronounce that correctly. Most cast members of Disney were not sure who I was talking about when I know my uncle would be rolling over in his grave over that.
He was one of the first principal cartoonists that Walt Disney worked with way back when he first got started. As a matter of fact, I think it was basically Walt and Ubi, I guess his name is, and they were together quite a bit. There has been some documentation written that people felt that Walt Disney took advantage of him in some cases, and that it was the case of a very strong personality working with a very not so strong personality. But he was very, very talented, very much a part of the Disney legacy, and a key participant in the success of the animation early on in Walt Disney's career.
Very good. Next email is from Choi from New York City, who writes, hello, all wise ones, and hello to Matt, Mike, Len, and Annette. After the tremendous help you guys were in answering the question that I sent earlier, we called the Disney Vacation Club and found out that we cannot take banked points from one reservation that you cancel and then apply them to another existing DVC reservation. In other words, each reservation's points are allocated and fixed, whether they're banked, borrowed, or stolen. Well, maybe not stolen. Any change would involve making a new reservation, and if the resort is waitlisted, you've got to go back to the beginning of the line. And that brings us to my second question. It appears to me that the non-home resort bookings have increased significantly. We have beach club points and are going down at the end of the summer and wanted to get a reservation for our friends of ours, but we couldn't after the resort is open to non-beach club DVC members. And this was within a few weeks of it being open to non-beach club Villa DVC members. I think this is a result of the hordes of Saratoga Springs members that Disney had signed up. What do you think? Well, Noel, as someone who obviously is DVC owner here, have you noticed more difficulty in getting once you get to the 7-month window where any DVC member can book any resort?
Yeah, I tried to use DVC for Mouse Fest this year, and it was totally booked. I couldn't get a room anywhere except Vero Beach, but I wasn't going to travel up and down every day. It has gotten extremely difficult. I mean, I've been a member since '94, so yeah, it's gotten a little bit. But that's, like you said, because of the amount of people that are now members.
Right. No, absolutely. Next email is from Bill Paxton of Katy, Texas, who writes, Hola, Mensa Brother Len. And he writes, that's hola, Matt, not hola. Whatever. Anyway, hola. I am training for the 09 marathon, maybe 2010, depending on when you get to this. And on a recent trip to the Caribbean beach, I noted a jogging trail. I was wondering if you could review the different resorts that do or don't have a jogging path. What are the distances at each resort? What kind of surfaces do they have? Secondarily, visiting the world recently, I was part of a magical moment. The filler portion of the Year of a Million Dreams. In line for a drink at McDonald's in Epcot, I was rewarded with a Year of a Million Dreams McFlurry. It was not really rewarded by the prize patrol. In fact, it was awarded by all the panache of, hey, you want a free ice cream? I gotta get out. I gotta get one out an hour. Not all the prizes are dreams here. If you don't want it, I can give it to the family behind you. I think he felt guilty since we had rented a stroller. He probably figured we couldn't afford much more. Interesting story. Scopo, we might have to discuss kind of running at Walt Disney World and you know.
Yeah, it's something that we'd probably have to spend a show on. There are certain resorts which have jogger paths that you can ask for at the front desk. Now, as far as the Caribbean Beach Resort, I've stayed there about 6 times, and I've run there. And basically, what I followed is I followed the path that goes around the lagoon. And one thing that I need to point out is that if you're going to run at a Disney resort, you really need to think about running in the morning, because when it gets crowded, it will really interfere with your running, and you'd be running into people. So that's a consideration. But the distance for each loop for each resort varies, and I think the best thing to do is to go to the front desk and ask for a map that has a jogger's path on it, and that map should have an indication as to how far one loop will take you. But that's the first thing you do is you go to the front desk and say, hey, I'm a jogger. I'd like to run. Do you have a jogger's pass?
Very good. Next email is from Dale, who writes, as the subject says, I'm a new listener to your podcast and have immensely enjoyed your show and your most recent episode about beating the heat. My question, though, is, even as first-timers, we did some of the things your panel suggests, just taking your time, taking a break at midday at the pools, not rushing out the second the parks opened every day, and taking a day off of property for a bit of something different, slowing down to enjoy some great meals, do a day just at the water park, sleeping in a few times, etc. Did we do everything we wanted? No. But did we use all our time efficiently? No. Did we have a great vacation? Yes. Will we go back again? Yes. Keep up the entertaining podcast, as I do enjoy reliving some of our Disney experiences through your panel and your listener comments and questions. We thank Dale for that. And certainly when you're taking it easy on a trip, I mean, yeah, it's not going to be the most efficient trip in terms of getting everything done, but again, the point of any good vacation is to have a good time. And I think Lennon mentioned in an earlier show, I mean, you're not doing anyone a favor by forcing everyone to be in the parks and, you know, spending time there as if, like, you know, you're getting paid to be there by the second. I mean, the reality is you should have fun, enjoy your time there. And if you're enjoying your time there, it means you spend a couple hours in the parks and a couple hours back at the pool and only see a couple of attractions. So be it. I mean, that's what makes Walt Disney World fun, is you have that flexibility. Scopa?
I agree. The thing is that, I mean, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, everything you said just makes sense. You need to make sure that you understand that everybody is their own individual, and everybody has their own idea as to what will make the perfect Walt Disney World vacation for them. And so you have to honor everybody's wishes, and you just have to be very flexible.
Absolutely. Next email is from someone who didn't write their name on there. I think his name is Vernon, based on his email address. But anyway, he writes, hello, Annette, oh yeah, and all of you other guys. A quick question for you. The unofficial guide...
Ding!
There you go. Has Dinosaur very highly rated. Yet, when it's mentioned on the podcast, you would think someone uttered one of George Carlin's 7 words. What gives? Is it good or not so good? I think I can answer. This is kind of a combination of a joke here.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, I don't like the attraction. I get scared on it. I don't enjoy it at all. And so because of my fear of the attraction, it's kind of become – it is a joke on the podcast that when we talk about it, what do you guys think of – obviously, that's my opinion of Dinosaur. What do you guys think of Dinosaur?
Well, I mean, it's one of those attractions where I can take it or leave it. I think that there are some good aspects of it. I like the simulation of a rough ride and going through, you know, time and all that. But I think that there are times when it's just too loud, and it just the volume is so high that it takes away from the other special effects. But I can understand that if you've got dark, if it's dark and then all of a sudden you've got all this noise and all of a sudden these lights flash, it makes for a better simulation. But on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best and one being, the worst, I'd give it maybe a 5 or a 6, only because I think that they could do a few things to make the attraction more enjoyable for others, and possibly have people like you, Matt, who understand that there are certain things in the attraction that are probably turning you off, and if they adjusted a few things here and there, maybe more people would, go on the attraction.
Right. Noel, what do you think of Dinosaur?
Yeah, I'm not a great big fan of it. I mean, it's okay for what it is. I don't know if I'd wait in line more than 15 minutes for it. It's okay. And the last few times I rode it, it was broke. So a lot of the effects weren't even working. So it was a little bit of a disappointment.
That was Hochberg's.
Especially when somebody you're riding with is screaming.
Next email is from Ariane from Sydney, Australia. He writes, we wish to visit Walt Disney World in July 2009. I'll be staying for 2 weeks. I'm reading that to eat a lot of the dining facilities at Walt Disney World, you need to book 180 days in advance. If I'm calling from Australia, should I just have a list of dates and places we wish to eat and just go for it? If I ring 180 days out, what are my chances of getting where to eat where we want to? Any ideas? It'll be my daughter's 21st birthday on the trip, and I want to make it really special. Scopa?
Well, as soon as you can, I would get on the phone. Well, first off, the thing to do is to write down on paper exactly what your trip's going to involve, what parks you intend to go to on certain days, and that may be important because there may be certain attractions like Fantasmic or Wishes or parades at night, like Spectral Magic. You want to make sure that you know exactly or have a real good idea as to what park you'll be in at what day, and then start thinking about which restaurants in those parks you would like to go to, and then make a list of first, second, and third choices for dates and times of each restaurant that you want to visit, and be very flexible when you call. But I would say, as soon as you can, as soon as you hit that 180-day mark, you make the call, because July is very crowded, and it would be very, very low percentage for you to get the very first choice for every restaurant.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing I would add to that, to what Mike said, is also because you're in Australia and there's such a huge time difference, I would really suggest taking the services of a good Disney travel agent, obviously the official travel agency of WDW Today's MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, but a good one will be able to save you that effort. I mean, you can give them that list, just like Scopa said. You come up with a list, here's what I want, you can come, okay, if this isn't available, then here's my backup, blah, blah, blah. And then you give it to them, they'll do all the work for you, and that making the call and waking up at 7 a.m. and making that, for you. So that way you don't have to 7 a.m. There's some ridiculous time difference,
Yeah, the only thing with that, though, Matt, is that when you give the vacation planner your list of restaurants and preferred times, you need to be sure that you give them I would give them a block of time. For instance, you could say, well, we're planning on being in the Magic Kingdom on such and such a date,
right,
and we would really like to have breakfast there, or we really like to have lunch at the Crystal Palace. So at that point, you say, any time that you can get us in there, that'd be fine. Actually, that's what I would say. For July, I would say whatever you can. If you really want to get into a place like Le Cellier, you have to be very flexible. If you're going to have lunch at 2 o'clock, well, hey, it's either that or nothing. So I think you have to be very, very flexible when you're going in a very high crowded time like July. That's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and regarding, is it necessary to make the reservations 180 days out? The reality is the advantage is you'll obviously even the most popular restaurants out there, like Le Cellier, like Cinderella's Royal Table, Tepanito, those kind of restaurants, you'll be able to get into, but also you'll be able to get your preferred time. A lot of times you can get into a restaurant, but you might not get the time you want. By booking 180 days out, you're not only more than likely getting the restaurant to begin with, but you're also going to get a time that's going to work best for you. Next email is from Amy Miller of, I have no idea how to pronounce that, somewhere from Texas. It's Waxahachie. Waxahachie? Anyway, she's from Texas. And Amy writes, hi, I'm Matt, Mike, Len, and Annette. First of all, I want to preface this by saying that I'm from Texas. Now to my question. Is it just me, or does Matt talk really fast? I notice this especially when he does the ad at the beginning of the show. This episode of Walt Disney World Today is brought to you by. Do you speed this up digitally, or does he really talk that fast? There are even times during the show when I have to run it back to decipher what he said. Do I really talk that fast?
we should let everybody know that when your mom was pregnant with you, she just drank a lot of coffee.
Ba-dum-tsh.
Boo!
You beat me to
There's
it.
nothing digital going on. I talk the way I talk. I don't know. I guess I talk fast.
You talk fast.
I guess so. Next email is from Joel and JJ, currently living in Columbia, South Carolina. Right, was doing a survey and came across this question and thought of our favorite old guy. That would be Scopa, of course. The question is, which of the following products, if any, do you or does someone living in your household currently own? Please check all that apply. Cell phone, including smartphones such as a BlackBerry or Trio. Video game console, such as Xbox, PlayStation, or Wii. Laptop or notebook computer. Digital camera. Audio-video receiver with surround sound. So far, so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like normal things. MP3 player or iPod. Telegraph.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share. Keep up the great work. There's a lot of other options there, but obviously the telegraph. I mean, wow. Telegraph. Do you have one of those, Scopa?
I haven't upgraded in a while. No.
He still has the blanket for the smoke signals. Nothing?
I'll have to listen to the show now.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
that's because I talk too fast.
It must be. All right,
Welcome,
Mike. Newell. We have time for one last question. You get to pick it.
Lay it on me, baby.
All right. All right. So here we go. Your options are Dining in the Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios touring strategy question, or Magical Express.
I'm going to go with the Hollywood Studios touring question, only because I never got to the studios this week.
Say it ain't so.
I didn't go.
Oh,
Because I was having too much fun at the house.
well, I can't blame you there. Our last email this week is coming from Julia from Austin, Texas, who writes, "We have a 3-year-old daughter who loves all things princesses and Playhouse Disney. We had the unofficial guidebook and have determined that most of the rides at Hollywood Studios will overwhelm her. This is what we would like to do. Playhouse Disney first, but grab fast passes for the Mermaid Show, see the Mermaid Show, grab fast passes for Beauty and the Beast, which there aren't any, but never mind. Meet characters and walk around the park until lunch with an ADR at Hollywood and Vine at 12:15. See Beauty and the Beast, Block Party Bash at 3 p.m. This pretty much hits the big things we would like to do with Hollywood. Is this a good plan? Or how or when we suggest that we add Muppet Vision 3D and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in there? Thanks so much. We look forward to Disney, and we'll be there for the first time that we've actually gone with a child." All right, Julia. This plan is very easy. It's not very difficult to hit. A couple things I want to add there. First problem you're going to run into, it's not a problem really, is when you first enter the park, the first attraction you have is Playhouse Disney, which is a great idea, except the first show's not till like 9:45 or something like that. And Mermaid also doesn't start until like 9:30 or something like that. So basically you've got a kind of a void right there in the middle, in the beginning rather. Now, one thing you may want to consider is riding Toy Story Midway Mania. Anyone can ride. Doesn't matter how young or old. Even your 3-year-old can ride. And I think she'll love it. And if that's the case, go immediately there as park opening, ride it, and then continue with your plan. I would then do Playhouse Disney like you suggested, be on that first show, and you probably don't need a fast pass for the Voyage of the Little Mermaid. You could try it, not totally necessary. So you'll go see Mermaid after that. There is no fast pass for Beauty and the Beast, as I mentioned, so you're just going to have to keep an eye on the schedule and try to work that in as it's going to be working for you, because your next thing after that is meet characters and walk around the park until lunch. So try to get in a show of the morning if there is one, and if not, just do some characters. That would also be a good time to do Muppet Vision and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, because the good news is both attractions are walk-on nearly any time of the year, so you won't have any problem getting to them. Definitely just work them in when you have a chance. You're in the area, want to go for it? Absolutely, you won't have any problem with it. If you don't want to do Toy Story Midway Mania, it would be advantageous for you to do Muppet Vision right there at first park opening. That could be your first attraction, because again, there'll be no one there. Shut up. Anyway, and yeah, the rest of your plan sounds good. Plan up being Block Party Bash. If you want to get a great spot, show up anywhere between 2 and 2:20. All right, that's it. No one here. That's it for us today. I want to mention again that this episode has been sponsored by MEI and Mouth Fan Travel. And if you're planning a trip to Walt Disney World, and again, you want to get away from people who are kind of mean to you, hurting your feelings, MEI and Mouth Fan Travel can help you plan your trip. And you can get away from all these losers and get your next trip and have them plan it for you. give them a try. Visit them at www.mousefantravel.com. And if you want to find all our episodes, read our shows, or send us comments, visit www.website at www.videotoday.com/Lunch at the Mike Scuba and Mike Newell. I'm Matt Hutchman. We'll see you on the next show. Was that fast enough?
Is that even real?
Caffeine Boy. Call him Caffeine Boy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.